Martin, thank you so much for joining us here at IMpower. Great to see you as always. And a key time really in such a challenging environment for somebody like you with your wealth of experience, 4 decades in this industry, to sort of share your thoughts on where we're at.
Yeah, no, the panels have been great. And I thought the most interesting one was in the main auditorium when the question was asked of the audience, how many of you think mutual funds are ideal at the moment or fit for purpose? And no one put their hand up. So there's a huge awareness that there needs to be change. And I think the thing we were trying to get over on that panel was it's very difficult for existing organizations to disrupt themselves. So the fintechs like the Revoluts of this world are there going to disrupt these big organizations. And as I said, you've got the clients, don't allow us to take them. So it was a fascinating time in the industry.
So it is key that those incumbents do move in terms of tech, isn't it? And adopt it, integrate it properly, and build things from the ground up.
Yeah, they probably find it difficult to build from the ground up and disrupt themselves. It's easier to buy in the technology, I think, and then try not to destroy it, so to speak, culturally. So yeah, no, it's an interesting time. I think first of all they've got to realize, and I think most people do, that they have to change. So I thought it was fascinating, really, really fascinating. People are aware of the issue. I'm not sure they know how to solve the issue.
You've probably been slightly unusual in the industry in that you have been somebody that's kind of been very forward-looking, embraced change. You're now running a company like Revolut. So why have you been able to do that, and what do you think it is that you need to have in terms of an outlook to be able to adapt?
Well, I would say I have made some mistakes, like not seeing the rise of ETFs, not seeing the rise of private markets. So it hasn't all been good. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, I think we were pretty good at what we did, or what Aberdeen do. But when you go into a fintech like Revolut, it's a completely different world. I mean, the level of growth is phenomenal, 400,000 customers a week. I mean, and so existing businesses, when we recruit from existing businesses who are more used to managing steady state, slow growth or whatever it is, we find it difficult to integrate them into this rapidly growing business. And it is really rapidly growing. I mean, from when I first went there, maybe it had 5 million customers, it's now got 30. So, I mean, these are incredible growth numbers.
When you look at those sort of new companies, what do you really need in terms of the teams and the expertise? Really, that's still key. You've got the tech, but you still need the people.
Yeah, I think good engineers clearly is the first thing, because the technology, the robustness of the technology is vital. So the great advantage the Revoluts of this world have is they've got a single technology stack, or whatever the correct description is. They're not integrating other bits and pieces like the legacy banks have. So that's the big advantage. And then it needs to be scalable. And then you need good people, as you say, especially in the control functions. Because when you're growing as rapidly as Revoluts of this world are, you need to make sure the control functions can keep up with that growth. Because that is the single thing the regulators worry about. Is they love the product because it's so good for the consumer, but can the control functions keep up with the growth?
And what about regulation in those terms? Is that keeping up too?
Yeah, I think the regulators are very good, but I think what we've got to remember are two things. One is they are more used to regulating what I would term a steady state organization, a steady state bank. And secondly, there is no upside for a regulator to take undue risk. So the regulators are great, but as I say, they've just got to adapt, and they are adapting. The UK regulators especially are world class. I mean, they're a top tier 1 regulator.
So Martin, that's how tech is developing and all the changes we're seeing there. Lots of agenda items this week at IMpower about AI, etc., which we've touched on, but also top of that agenda is still energy transition and climate. Where are we at in this industry with that, and what should this industry and could this industry be doing?
Yeah, I think energy transition and climate has not taken a back seat, but certainly had a bit of a setback with the Ukraine situation, and energy security has risen up the agenda hugely. I do think we still concentrate too much on the supply side, i.e. let's close coal mines, let's stop oil being produced, rather than looking at the demand side. And I think we should spend more time on the demand side, really trying to work out how we cut the demand for coal or oil, because if the demand isn't there, the supply goes away. Whereas we think if we cut the supply, the demand will go away. I always think the problem with that approach is the supply will just go somewhere else from the traditional listed providers of these commodities. So yeah, I think that. But as I say, the Ukraine situation has caused a bit of a pause there.
What other areas would you like to see just finally wealth managers focusing on now? We've touched on a few there, but is there anything else you think that actually this is really important that we need to be facing up to in the next, say, 12 months?
I think wealth managers need to work out how they're going to be useful for the next generation. I think how they're going to work with that TikTok generation, who are going to, as one of my fellow panelists said, that generation are going to take their financial advice from TikTok. How do they fit in with that generation? So I think they need to just work more with a younger generation, because statistically about 80% of children are not going to use their parents' financial advisors. So they've got to somehow break that and work out how they are relevant through the Revoluts of this world. Because as I say to the private bankers I meet, I say, listen, you have the clients, just don't lose them to us. And that's the big danger for them.
I touched on your longevity in the industry right at the start of this.
40 years, God.
How does it feel when you look at where the industry's changed and evolved during that time?
Well, I mean, it was a cottage industry. It's now a massive global industry. So, there was very limited information. Now there's a surplus of information, which is where I think AI could really help asset managers, I think, sift through this huge amount of information.
Well, it's great to see how excited you remain to be part of the industry after all this time, Martin. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. Great to see you as always.